I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Dead Cells from Scorpion Mask. Dead Cells is a 1 to 4 player roguelike game based on the video game of the same name. Before we dive into the review, thank you to AllPlay for being a channel sponsor. More with them at the end of the video. In Dead Cells, you are basically trying to go through a bunch of areas. They're called areas. I don't know what they're actually called. I mean, I've played the video game, I've played the board game. They're areas. You're going to start in the prisoner's quarters, and then from there you can go to the toxic sewers, you can fight the various bosses. If you have played the video game, a lot of the general idea of what you're doing will be very familiar, although how the board game implements it will be very different. For the sake of this, I will not be assuming you've played the video game. Just in case, I'm going to do this as if you haven't played the video game. I'll talk more about that later. But in the board game, you're basically going through these various journeys until eventually your goal is to defeat a boss, and then you'll either die along the way, or you'll defeat the boss. But along the way, you're going to be leveling up. You're going to be earning things. That's this giant board over here, tracks all the stuff you've earned along the way. I have some card slotters so you can see how that works, but these will give you some various perks that you'll get because you've gone through and you've spent your cells on various things in order to earn perks that will last with you through game to game. That's what makes this a roguelite. Your progress is not saved, your progress is continuous. You play, you die, you get stronger, you play, you die, you get stronger, you play, you defeat a boss, you die, you get stronger. You keep going through this cycle as you play through the game. The way this game is going to have you manage that is you're going to have your characters starting off in the prisoner's quarters, and then you choose an area to go with. Our first area doesn't have a lot of choice. We move along over here, we flip this over, we have a choice. Do we want a equipment from the treasure deck over there, or do we alternatively want to bump up the leader, whoever the leader of this scenario is? Do we want to bump up one of their stats, upgrading their character? Because the character boards have various stats that you can upgrade, giving you additional perks as you do so. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and take an equipment, and we're going to take that, we're going to put it, let's say, underneath this character. We now have an old wooden shield that we can start with that will help us when it comes to combat rounds. Then we can have a choice of which way to go. We're going to go down over here. We're going to flip this over, and this is going to result in a combat being generated. Additionally, the leader token will pass, so whoever the leader is going to constantly be changing as you play. We're going to take cards out, we're going to place them out on the board. If they have a specific area they go, we'll place them there, and we'll place that one down there, and then we'll place this next one, and we'll place them down over there. We have two undead archers that we are facing off against in this combat, and we're going to have a blueprint. We're going to take a blueprint card from the bottom of this deck, and we're going to put it into the loot area over here where we can possibly get it during the course of combat. That's where each player is going to draw from their hand. They're going to draw 3 cards, and we're going to be playing cards. How you play cards is different depending on the player count. Generally, you're going to be placing 3 cards into play. You always want to have 3 cards facing against the enemy. The way the cards are going to work is you're going to be picking cards from your hand with limited communication with the other players as far as what you're doing, and those cards are going to be sequencing. You're going to go through your cards as well as the opponent's cards depending on the exact order. If there's an opponent in this spot, they go first. Otherwise, you go first, and you work your way left to right, resolving them. But you're basically going to have 3 rounds of combat. I'm just going to throw out another 2 cards over here. When you are playing at lower player counts, you're going to be using the Serenade character to add extra cards, but for right now, we're just going to throw these out. And then you're going to have, for example, in the first round of combat, this player is going to be able to activate one of their abilities. They can place a marksman token on one of their characters, which means they'll take additional damage. That's going to be helpful because then when the Immolated does his next attack over here, that's going to deal an extra damage, and because these characters have 2 damage, you can take out one of these characters before they even operate. That's going to drop a tooth over here. That's basically money in the game, and that's going to give us something else. Well, it doesn't really go there. It goes directly to the players because it's not in the loot pile. You put it in the player pool, and you have that. After that, this character goes, but in round 1, he does nothing, which means now you move to round 2. And again, you go through the cards again. Nothing happens in round 2. We deal 1 damage. We can put 1 damage on this character. He deals a damage back, which means we're going to have to put a damage token onto one of us over here, taking that damage and slowly taking damage and possibly dying. Then we go to round 3, where he's going to deal 2 damage, taking him out because he only has 2 health. He already has 1 damage in him, which means he won't be able to activate, and again, we'll get another tooth. Now, in this case, over here, even though a person is dead, we still continue resolving all our cards. So over here, we do have a pickup. That's going to be loot ability. That's where we can take this blueprint and put it on top of the collector. We now have a blueprint that we'll get later when we are in the inter-biome phases. That's the basic way a combat plays out. You play 3 cards. They have their stack of enemies. You resolve whatever's on this token. And then over here, now we go to the next spot. We can go to the next spot in the dungeon, and you continue going for this. I'm not going to really resolve this. You continue going through until you eventually either get to one of these options, possibly going to the ramparts, possibly going to the toxic sewers, although you do need to unlock this rune before you can can go to the ramparts. That's where on this interbiome board up here, you have over here your rune section. These are going to be some of the degrees of progress you have. You have progress you can unlock over here by upgrading these cards. You have skills you can get, the boss cell. You have during the game, you have various abilities you can unlock. You have the start of the game abilities. For example, this one over here has a starting off by placing treasure in the goose bag, so we can start each run with money, which is helpful. These runes, as you unlock them, you're going to be flipping them, and that will unlock access to various things, which is one of the ways you're going to progress in the game, because we can't even do the ramparts until we flip that particular rune, so we need to find it first and then flip it. That's the basic arc of the game. You're going through combats, which are going to resolve the way you just saw me play it out. Past that, you're exploring various areas. You'll have an elite enemy over here, but you could have elite enemies in non-combat and non-specific elite areas as well. You have the specific biome deck, so right now we have the prisoner's quarter, but we can swap that out with different boards that will have their own decks of cards, as well as their own blueprints to unlock. And you're doing all of this to progress in the game while trying to balance the various combats and power up your characters and stay alive long enough to really unlock all the game has to offer. That's the general arc of how this game works. Also, interruption by cat creature. This is a level 4 boss. With that, let's go ahead and dive into my review of what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like. I like the callouts to the video game. As someone who is a big fan to the video game, it is fun the first few times you unlock anything. The first time you get to the toxic sewers, you're like, ooh, we're in the toxic sewers, but in the board game. The first time you draw an equipment, the old wooden shield, I haven't played with that in so long, it's fun to see it back here. All the various things, from the enemies, to the gear, to the blueprints, to the locations, it is fun. All the stuff is fun. The first time you see these things, if you are a fan of the video game, it does a good job of feeling the homage to the video game, so as a fan of Dead Cells, I had fun every time some of those things were encountered. I also like the cooperative feel to a degree. I like the sense of cooperation. Hey, we're going to play cards, we're going to try to take down that enemy. Again, you have to be a little vague. I'm always a little wary of limited communication without clearly defined rules, like what can I and can't I say. But overall, the sense of teamwork, that is nice overall. I can do something early on in the game. I can help power up. I can grab the loot. Saying vague things can still work out, and the sense of cooperation is there. One thing Dead Cells, the video game, doesn't have is a cooperative mode. And so playing this cooperatively, I got to do that for the first time in my life. I got to play Dead Cells, the board game granted, cooperatively, which was fun. The progression, easily the best part of the game. Easily the best part of the game is when you spend your cells and you unlock things and you put them into the biome board. It is so much fun to get upgrades. Again, it feels reminiscent of a roguelite experience. It feels like you're making progress in the game. You add more items to your equipment stack, so you now have this new stuff that you can find every time you draw random equipment. The progression definitely feels like they nailed the roguelike element of it. There's 3 different decks you can spend, 4 different decks you can spend your cells on in order to buy various upgrades, and you can choose how to spend them. There is a linear progression through them, which helps to keep things balanced, but that's really, really fun. Easily the best part of the game is the progression. And then overall, I'd say for a game that's doing what this is doing, it's fairly quick on the setup and teardown. They nailed that as well, so lots of things that they got right. But I don't like the game, which brings us to the section of things I don't like. I don't like the game. The main issue I have is, first of all, it feels incredibly grindy. And, well, of course it does. It's a roguelite. They're supposed to feel incredibly grindy. But the thing about a roguelite is the grind works well if the thing you're grinding at is fun. Every time I play a round of Dead Cells, I feel cool. I feel like I'm jumping around, killing people, managing to combine this weapon and those abilities, and it's always fun to do the things. The problem I have with this game is the combat doesn't feel rewarding. It feels very luck-based. You often feel stuck. It feels like one of the least fun combat systems I have ever played in a game. Maybe not, definitely not the least fun. I'm sure it's not the least, but it's one of the least fun combat systems I've ever played. It doesn't feel rewarding. It doesn't feel fun. It feels like you're limited and without a lot of options as to how to do it. I don't mind losing in games, but I don't feel cool, clever, interested, or feel like this agency or fun when I play through the combat. I hated the combat system in Dead Cells, and Dead Cells the board game, and that means that everything else, even though they got a lot of things right, the main crux of where you're going to be spending a lot of your time, where you're going to be grinding, isn't fun. And that kind of ruins the entire experience for me. The last thing I'll say is I didn't love the true solo either. Like, there's that other character, I can't remember the name, there's other kind of a character you work with. There's a way you play 2 cards yourself, it plays the 3rd card. There's a whole thing it does. I thought multiplayer was a much better implementation. I have played this both multiplayer and solo. Definitely prefer multiplayer. But also, the tricky part is a roguelite like this, as much as multiplayer is more fun, and you could have players jumping in and out, which is nice. Having a dedicated group to play it, like I've played probably 2/3 of my time solo and 1/3 of my time multiplayer, and I prefer multiplayer, but the main issue is really just the combat system. As far as I can see others not liking, first of all, limitations in video game adaptation, meaning I liked how well this brought back callbacks to the video game, but also I played with other fans of Dead Cells, and some of them were not as fans. Some were like, that's not how that works. What do you mean you can go straight to the ramparts from the prisoner's quarters? I mean, in Dead Cells, the video game, there's ways to do whatever. But like, there's things that definitely are limitations. This is not a video game. This is going to have limitations in how they adapt that, and that's fine. I don't mind that, but you might mind that. And then also, the mutation board limitations. In general, over here, you are going to be limited as you gather various mutations. And again, that is a callback to the video game to a degree. Like, there's only so many mutations you can have. But the mutation board as well, as you get more things, you'll have to start picking and choosing, and won't be able to do it all. As far as final thoughts on Dead Cells, the board game, I wanted to like this game. I'm a fan of the video game. I'm a fan of Slay the Spire, the board game. I think it's a great implementation of the video game, for better or for worse. Longer competition around Slay the Spire. There are things about Dead Cells that they really got right. There are things they got right. Absolutely. The progression is top-notch. The cooperative feel, it's hard to judge that because I like the cooperative feel, but I don't like the combat, which is where that's happening. But the quick setup and tear down, like, this is an incredibly quick setup and tear down for the amount of content there is. I am very impressed with that. But the main thing that you're going to be spending the majority of your time doing in this game, I do not enjoy at all. And that kind of ruins it for me. Rating-wise, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5, which I feel is a bit harsh because there's a lot of things that they got right. But at the core of it, the main thing you are doing, I don't enjoy, I don't find it fun, I don't find it clever or interesting. Whether I win or I lose, I don't feel I did anything interesting. I just feel like I'm going through it all, and the only reason I play Dead Cells the board game until now, the only reason I have played it until now, is because when you get to the end, you get to unlock new stuff, and that's fun. Everything else along the way, not so much. So it's a 2 out of 5 for me. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Slay the Spire. Like, they did a great job adapting the video game to the board game. Again, pros and cons. You might argue it's too much of a true adaptation. Why not just play the video game? But I have fun playing both. They're absolutely fantastic. Also check out Astronauts if you're looking for another kind of, not really a roguelike kind of game, but another cooperative, take down the boss kind of experience that has that video game feel. And I mentioned earlier that AllPlay is a channel sponsor. If you check out their site, you can check out a game called Leviathan Wilds from one of their partners on their site on allplay.com. Leviathan Wilds definitely has that cooperative video game feel in a whole different system, kind of similar to roguelike progression. Like, there's ways you're unlocking lots of stuff as you go. I really enjoyed Leviathan Wilds and thought it was a fantastic game. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.